Hi yogis, Nin from Nin Yoga here. Today we have a practice if you've got tired legs, or maybe you often end the day with a dull or aching feeling in the bottom half of your body, and this can be due to standing a lot, or maybe you've been on a hike, running. Generally, sometimes though, our legs feel tired even if we're just sitting down at a desk all day. So this practice is especially designed for people who work in the service industry in mind, but it's actually a good restorative and good stretch for everyone. So because it's restorative in nature, which means we're going to be focusing on slowing down and restoring our bodies, what you'll need and what it might be nice to have is a cushion or a bolster nearby, maybe a rug for when we go into a bit more of the meditative session. With that said, let's begin in a seated pose. Just crossing your legs, straightening your spine, just coming down to where you are at the moment. And loop the shoulders around, bring the shoulder blades together, bringing your right ear down towards your right shoulder, then rolling it over to the other side, where your left shoulder meets your left ear, and roll over towards the right. Come back to center. Lift your chin up and take it down. Feel stretch in your neck. And from here, just lift the arms up and take them over to the right and look over the right shoulder. Come back to center and then go over towards the left, twisting through your body. Inhale and an exhale. Come back to center and we'll do arrow arms. So lift your palms up to the sky, bending your right elbow, clasp it with your left hand and just stretch down through your arm. And then we'll take it to the other side. So bending your left elbow and clasping it with your right hand. And then come back to center. And now we're going to take a few positions that support our back. So firstly, we're going to come into a reclined butterfly pose. Now what I'd like you to do is put the soles of your feet together and let your knees drop out to the side. So here you're going to be opening up your hips. Now here is where, if you've got a cushion or a bolster, you can use it and bring it into the practice. So here I've got a bolster obviously, but you can use anything you've got at home. And here we're just going to fall back onto the bolster, onto the cushion, and you don't actually need a cushion or a bolster, so you could come down completely towards the floor if that's good for you. Just sinking into the mat and maybe stretching out with your arms above your head. And feeling that stretch down your lower back. Opening up your hips, letting everything sink into the ground. And from here, bringing your knees together. And what I'd like you to do is, if you'd like to, just move the bolster or the cushion out of the way for a second. And come down onto the floor and hug your knees. And just circle them on the mat. Hug your knees into your chest, stretching through, pressing your thighs in, and then let go. And now what I'd do is you can either do this a couple of ways. So we're going to come into a pose we call reclined waterfall pose, which is great for gravity enhancing postures. So what I mean by that is you're letting the blood flow a way it doesn't normally flow if you're on your legs all day. So it's called reclined waterfall pose, and it involves you sticking your feet up into the air, straight in a line. Now, there's a couple of options here. You can stay here doing that, or you can come up against a wall and do it this way. And just make sure that you scoot along to the wall and have your back up against the wall and straightened out like this to support you. And we'll just stay here and let the blood come back down to the pelvis and come a different way to the direction it normally travels. And if you've been standing on your legs in particular all day, this can feel really therapeutic. And slowly bend your knees, put the soles of your feet, and hug your knees. And if you're up against a wall, just roll over to the side and come back down onto your mat. Now the next pose we're going to do is hug our knees. So we're going to bring our right leg in and straighten out the left. And this is just to stretch out the left leg. Make sure you stretch through it and maybe go around in a circular movement on your leg, your right leg. Hugging it in nicely here. Inhale and an exhale. And the next pose I'd like you to do is slowly and mindfully begin to straighten your right leg and try to hold on to the right calf as we come into a reclined split. Now, you don't have to obviously do the split here, and it's not a competition to see who can get the straightest right leg. It's my meaning. What I want you to do is just stretch out your hamstrings as much as you can and focus on what you need to do today, because your body's where it needs to be right now, so work with it. And if you can, lifting your head off the ground and try and meet your right knee with your forehead. It doesn't matter if you keep a micro bend in your right leg. Beautiful. Letting go of the right leg now. I'd like you to bring both the soles of your feet to the mat and then crossing over your right leg over your left thigh on your left knee. So we come into a reclined pigeon pose that looks just like this, and try to flex the right foot if you can. And then what I'd like you to do is grab hold of your left thigh and bring it into your chest. And This is really, really nice for resolving those aches and pains, especially in your hips, that you might harbour after a long day on your feet. And if you can, you might be able to straighten up your left leg, getting a stretch into the left calf. Beautiful. Okay, now bringing the left foot down to the mat and uncrossing the legs, and just do a windshield movement from side to side before we take that onto the other side. So what I'd like you to do is straighten out the right leg and hug the left knee into the chest. Maybe again circle around your left leg, get some movement in an area where the blood flow might have been constricted. Inhale, exhale, and then try to straighten up the left leg into a reclined split. Now you might not be able to go as far on this side, and that's absolutely fine. And just try to bring your hands to your left calf. And if you need to bend your knee, please do so. And we'll just stay here and get that nice stretch down the hamstrings and reverse the gravity of the day. Inhale, exhale, bringing the left foot down to the mat, and then bringing both the soles of your feet down to the mat, and then crossing over your left foot towards your right knee, and we'll come into a reclined pigeon pose. So this might be enough for you, or you might be able to grab on to your right thigh and feel that stretch in your hips, trying to push out with your left elbow into your left thigh. And if you want to take it further, straighten up your right leg. Pushing in and exhaling, bringing the right foot down to the mat, uncrossing the legs, bringing the soles of your feet down onto the mat. And now we're going to take what we call a bridge pose. So for this, what I'd like you to do is have your palms of your hands beside your hips, flat on the mat, your arms beside you, your soles of your feet on the mat, knees bent. And then slowly, I'd like you to push up with your pelvis towards the sky. Now this might be enough, but if you'd like, you might be able to interlace your hands behind you and tuck your shoulders in, bringing the shoulder blades together. And this is what we call bridge pose. And again, we're bringing the blood to a different area and in a different direction than we have all day. Exhale, put your palms down flat on the mat, and slowly and with control, bring your pelvis down to the mat. Now from here, we're going to come up into a saddle pose, or just a seated pose. And here, we're going to do a bit of a flow movement, and one of the only ones in this practice. So we're going to lift up, and this is particularly good for getting blood circulating into your legs. And we're going to exhale, bringing our palms down to our shins or maybe our feet into a forward fold. So this is particularly good for the lower back and the hamstrings. I'm going to stay here for a few seconds, just find your center. And then we're going to come up, breathing up with our hands, bringing our palms back behind us so that they can support us. And we're going to put the soles of our feet on the mat and we're going to lift up into a reverse plank. So make sure your knees are bent and you're pushing down through your palms, bringing your shoulder blades together. Exhale, seat down onto the mat. Inhale, and then come back into a forward fold. And we're just going to do that another 3 times. Exhale, palms down to the mat, soles of your feet on the mat, and push up with your pelvis into a reverse plank. Inhale, exhale, back down onto the mat. Inhale, bringing your palms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Feeling your legs coming back to life. Inhale, bringing your palms up to the sky, then down behind you. Bring your soles of your feet to the mat, make sure you're supported here, and then push up with your abdomen and your pelvis to the sky. Tilt your neck back. Pushing up, up, up. Exhale, back down into saddle pose. And then we're going to come back into a seated position. From here, we're going to scoot around on our mat and come into a downward facing dog. So this might feel a nice, really restorative stretch for you here. For the first time, we're putting blood into our calves. And we should be in a sort of triangular shape, a V shape, upside down shape really. Let your head hang neutrally, press down through the palms and pedal. And have your ears and your biceps in line with each other. And then what I'd like you to do is come forward with your right foot in between the gates of your palms and come into a low lunge. Untuck your left foot and push up with your torso. Now you can either press down into your right knee and just feel that stretch in the hips, opening up from being closed all day, or you can take the palms above you and stretch out through your armpits and have your pinky fingers slightly coming in towards each other. Spine straight, looking straight ahead. Exhale, bringing the palms down onto the mat, and we're just going to walk with our palms to the center and tucking our left foot in. We're just going to have our feet facing out towards the side of the mat, but bring your heels in a bit just to support yourself here. And bend your knees as though you're coming into a squatting pose. And here we're just going to do a goddess pose. So keeping in a squat-like motion, raising your arms up to the sky and crossing your wrists over each other. This is called goddess pose. Exhale, bringing your arms parallel to the mat, pressing down through your thighs. Inhale, crossing the wrists. Exhale, straighten the palms, arms parallel to the mat. And a final inhale, crossing the wrists. Pump that blood around your legs. Exhale, bringing your palms down to your thighs. And we're going to do a few twists here. So what I'd like you to do is look over your right shoulder and press down with your left palm into your left thigh. And then come back to center and then twist to the other side. Looking over your left shoulder, pressing in to your right thigh. Coming back to center and then doing the same one last time. Come back to center and then take it over to the left. And come back to center. Beautiful. Okay, yogis, now do a cartwheel with your hands and come down into a low lunge on the other side. So untuck your right foot, making sure that your left knee is at a 90-degree angle and that your ankle is stacked underneath your knee. And here you can choose again to press down either on to your left knee, or you can bring your palms up, pinky fingers coming in slightly, and just press down through the hips, opening up. And this is a low lunge. Inhale, exhale, palms down to the mat. And again, we're going to walk them to the center and have our feet facing out to the front. And what we're going to do here is keep our palms down on the mat, on the floor, and let our head hang as we come into a wide-legged forward fold. So you can choose to stay here like this, and maybe if you need, put a bolster down on the mat and then just lean on it if you can, and you can have this any way you like. So if it's a restorative practice, so we're not looking to push ourselves, we might even have it this way round. Or if you want to take this a little bit further with the stretch, hold on to your big toes and just let your head fall here, feeling that deep stretch and circulation into your hamstrings. And from here, bring your hands to your hips, slowly, with control, come up into a standing pose. And just take your time here and just make sure your spine's straight, but make sure, more importantly, the blood comes back to your head so that you feel in control and you're not moving too fast. And from here, I'd like you to bring your heels in slightly. We're going to take a yogi squat. So you might, like here, slowly bend in a squatting position and put your palms down onto the mat. Now, it may take you a while to feel your way into this, so I suggest you slowly bend further and further with your knees and bend from side to side, getting that motion into your hips and warming them up. So this is really good for opening your hips. And then come to center, placing your feet on the mat, flat, pointing out slightly to the side. And here, bring your elbows in towards your knees so that they're pressing out and supporting you here. Then bring your palms together and try as much as you can to straighten your spine. This is a yogi squat. So just do what you can here, opening up your hips, always remembering to keep your crown straight. Inhale one last time, bring your palms down to the mat and then just tilt slightly back so that you end up on your seat. And from here, we're just going to straighten our legs out in front of us, flexing the feet. Inhale and take one last forward fold. And then coming up into a seated pose. Then slowly, with control, lowering your back down towards the mat. And now we're going to take a pose called Twisted Roots pose. So here I'd like you to cross your right knee over your left. Maybe scoot now with your hips over to the right. And what I'd like you to do is let your legs fall down and your knees collapse towards the left hand side. And then look over your right shoulder and have your arms out beside you, either in a cactus pose, or if there's room, maybe you can straighten them out into a T pose. Inhale one last time, then bringing the knees to the center of the mat, uncrossing the legs, and maybe just notice the difference in your back here. And then crossing your left knee over your right, and let your knees fall towards the right hand side, and look over your left shoulder. Inhale one last time, exhale, bring the knees to the center, uncross the legs, and here I'd like you to take your final shavasana pose. So let your legs come down to the mat, let your feet fall out beside you, and let your hands fall to the mat. And we're going to breathe here, breathing in through our body, through the lungs, and then take that air down to the legs. And just visualize a white light flowing through your legs, pumping them full of energy, reversing the effects of strain. Maybe paying tribute to where they have taken you today, even if it's a short journey upstairs, or maybe it's a bit further, or you've been on your feet all day serving people. Just pay tribute and come back to this moment, forgetting all the things tied up with work or obligation. Take a breath in here, unclench your jaw, unfurrow your brow, and take an inhale. A really deep one. Hold it there for 3 seconds, and exhale the day. Always shepherding your mind back to the mat. Don't get distracted by anything around you that does not serve you and this moment. Take time to notice how your body now feels. Now you've dedicated just a few minutes out of your day for a bit of self-care and some self-love. take a final inhale, and then I'd like you to bring your palms up above your head, stretch out the whole body, stretch it out, and then bring your palms down to the mat. Bring your soles of your feet down onto the mat as well, and then just let your knees drop to the side and come up into a seated position. Just find your center here. Open your eyes, inhaling, the palms above you, palms together, bringing our thumbs to our head, and we bow and say Namaste. Namaste, yogis. Thank you so much for doing that practice with me. I hope that it's taken the pressure off your legs and they feel less tired and they feel rejuvenated and less achy all round. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for plenty other videos. We have all sorts of themes on here, and themed yoga and different practices. And please leave a note in the comments to let me know how you got on. I would love to hear from you, and I hope to see you again very soon. Namaste.